Good evening. I'm going to start the Marlborough School Committee meeting at 7:30. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Murphy, I believe we have a communication this evening.
We do.
I actually came.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a few of us received this communication, yes?
Maybe a couple.
Yeah. We received a communication this past week from the Director of Planning and Policy Department from Akaruno City that there has been a new mayor of Akaruno City was officially announced, and it, I don't know if I can try to attempt to, Nakajima. Want to help on the last name? Haruki, as of September 4th. And they thank us very much for our continued support as of our sister city relationship. We look forward to continuing that relationship in the future, as they are as well.
Yes, and hopefully COVID will stay at bay and we can maybe resume our middle school exchange program this year. Yeah, fingers crossed. Excellent. Thank you. And so we'll just go right into your report, please.
Thank you. In my report, I did include the enrollment numbers as of September 9th, and at your seats, I printed out the updated number. So you can see it's only gone up a couple of students overall, but you can compare the week by week, the day by day. This does not include any student that is in the pre-enrollment status, which means that there are a number of students currently waiting for either medical clearance and or documentation for proof of residence are the two things that a majority of the students are waiting on. There are a number of vaccine clinics that are available these days that we haven't had in the last couple of years. And so students can be processed and get the required vaccines that they need to start school.
And we have those in-house?
Yeah, the Board of Health has it, and then there's a couple of community service providers as well. I also have included and updated the current elementary class size chart. And I had noticed afterwards, the last meeting, that we did in fact add that first grade class. It was the fourth grade, the four second grade classes at Kane that we were a little concerned about for that class size, but we did add the first grade to make that, adjust that number. As you can see, the numbers are increasing slightly. The kindergarten students are still being processed. They started last week. For example, we checked this morning, Richard School has 8 kindergarten students in pre-enrollment status, which will bring their class size up to about 17 within days. So good now is still increasing. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to take questions and comments now? Mrs. Hennessy?
Sorry. How is our space over at Goodnow?
Yeah.
It's built.
Well, I mean, I remember when we did that walkthrough before, and we were talking about, you know, potential options or ideas. I mean, are we looking at potentially doing any other breakouts I mean, I know there wasn't a ton of space. It wasn't like there was a
Tea room you already converted,
We
right?
already converted. We have converted every space, just about, well, the next spaces would be the art room, the music room, and potentially engineering. Other than that, every single space is completely being used in that building, so you would be looking at increasing class sizes, which there are a lot of students in there. The class size is good. It's still, 20, 21. There is a couple of 22, but all of our buildings have class sizes that are approaching 22, so it's not that the class sizes are any higher than anywhere else. It is, they have more classrooms than any other building.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we built that school and we have those classrooms.
Well, and they're good sized
And
classrooms.
they're good sized
too,
classrooms.
Which is, I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't, necessarily address the educational aspect. It's a challenge, but at least from a space standpoint, it's a little bit bigger so kids aren't on top of each other. And
We were in the building this morning, we were walking through classrooms and visiting 3 of the elementary schools this morning. They do have very nice sized classrooms. Yeah, none of the classrooms are crowded.
yeah. Okay, thanks.
Equity-wise, when we make the decision about art and music in those spaces, that would be something we would look at across the board.
Yeah.
We have tough decisions to make.
And how was that visit when they came to see Richard? Anyway, I'm just kidding.
Well,
That timeline on that is that we will hear if we go to the next phase in December.
December.
Yeah, and then I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 9 months for us to decide if we were going to be moving forward right from that point.
Yes, the timer would start, I believe, on the spring date. So
Yeah.
It would be either April or May, and then 270 days from there. But the odds right now are looking good. The visit went really well.
Did.
From your mouth to someone's ears. How about that?
They saw the need.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You'll be hearing more later this month, but I did want to share the wonderful news that we are pleased to announce that Ms. Christine Harrington has joined the district leadership team as Supervisor of Health Services this week. Ms. Harrington has 10 years experience in over 10 years experience in school-based nursing, most recently in Southbridge and Charlton. Assistant Superintendent O'Brien will provide an update on nursing services later this month. I've also included the updated bullying plan. Attached to my report is a copy of the updated Marlborough bullying plan. I believe there was only 3 changes on page 12, if I'm correct, and that was correcting the vocabulary that refers to, was it target that needed to be corrected? And then we added the statement that we would be providing notice to the parents of guardians of the target, the information from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Problem Resolution System. And we added that phrase, regardless of the outcome of the investigation, to that paragraph. We wanted to clarify that in that paragraph as well. I've also included a draft of my superintendent entry plan for review, so that if there's any feedback or questions or edits that anyone sees, please submit to me and I will submit it at the next meeting as well. I'm also requesting my coach, Kevin Courtney, would like to come and present to the committee at the next meeting a little bit about the superintendent induction program as well.
Excellent.
And I think that was everything that I wanted to include in my report.
Does anyone want to discuss the entry plan now, or do you want to, if people have comments, do you want,
Either one works for me, whatever works for the committee.
what do people, what's the, anyone?
I would say, Michelle, if we might be able to then send any comments or questions back to you.
Absolutely.
So that maybe we can then have a, bigger discussion during the next meeting, if that's at all possible.
Anything's possible, it's our meeting.
It's a good connection, too, with the presentation as well.
Kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful to
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sounds.
Lost my
Dr. Skaza.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm pleased to give you my first report on what has been happening in late August and early September. It's been very busy with new staff orientation as the first topic I'll be presenting today or tonight. New staff orientation was a success with roughly 60 new hires to the district in attendance. It was a large group. New hires received information from a number of departments, including human resources, finance, nursing, counseling, and the Office of Teaching and Learning, as well as the Marlborough Educators Association. Everyone chipped in, joined me at the Whitcomb Auditorium, and presented the new hires with a multitude of information on a variety of subjects. The feedback that I got on the spot from a lot of the new hires was that they appreciated the information, and some had informed me that this was the first time that they had been presented with so much information in a district that they had worked in. So we were pleased with that. And then on that second day of orientation, new staff members reported to their respective buildings for a site-based training, primarily held by the assistant principal, educational team leader, and the principal on a number of building-related subjects, and then some subjects that were important to cover before school started, such as Section 504, addressing the needs of students on IEPs, and then general operations of the building. Donna Marshall, I would like to mention, was instrumental in helping me to prepare for this event. She did a lot of hard work, so thank you, Donna. The mentoring induction program has gotten off to a strong start. We have a lot of individuals receiving mentorship this school year. And what we have been emphasizing is that the relationship is reciprocal and that the mentors will be benefiting as much from the relationship as the mentees. A lot of individuals who are receiving mentors this school year have been teaching for a number of years. So we did want to make sure that we placed high regard in the value of the relationship, no matter what your previous experience, and Marlborough Public Schools being committed to preparing individuals who are new to the district, no matter what their experience, for a productive experience and hopefully a long experience in the Marlborough Public Schools teaching. So I would say there were about 130 total people, and we all crammed into the Whitcomb Commons and made it work. We met to discuss the process and the plan for the experience. The work of Priority 1.3 to ensure early career opportunities for new educators was what I had referenced as kind of the reason for us all being there, specifically individuals who may have not been afforded the opportunity to have a mentor otherwise. And I just quoted that MPS will expand upon and implement a robust series of professional support experiences for new teachers. As a result, an effort has been made to assign a mentor to all new hires regardless of their previous teaching experience. So far, some good reception and some good informal feedback on the process altogether. Restorative justice trainings have been running in conjunction with onboarding a lot of new staff to the district. Of the roughly 60 new hires to the Marlborough Public Schools at the late August mark anyhow, nearly everyone was trained in a 2-day overview on Tier 1 practices and restorative justice. In addition to these trainings for the new hires, each school will introduce a new cohort to the Tier 1 trainings that focuses on community building in the classrooms. And those trainings are scheduled to start later this month, with Whitcomb School to be the first in the series. The grants, Every Student Succeeds Act, Title I, II, III, and IV grants have been submitted and accepted. Very pleased because that was a large undertaking for me, not being all that familiar with the grant experience. So I spent a lot of time in front of a computer screen and really focusing and crunching some numbers and receiving some assistance from Superintendent Murphy. And slowly but surely, I became more comfortable with that process, and I'm pleased that the grants are all accepted. So I'm happy to report that our FY23 ESSA grants have been accepted with a start date of August 23rd, 2022. These grants include Title I, II, III, and IV funding for the Marlborough Public Schools. A special thank you to Karen Runlet and Superintendent Murphy for helping me with this first year of grant application. And evaluation is up and off the ground here. So the evaluation process for the 2022-23 school year has begun, and most recently, notification of evaluator memos have been presented to MEA members, and soon goals will be created and educator plans developed. We have a leadership meeting later this week, and we're going to talk about the notice of evaluator memos for our paraeducators, our behavior technicians, and our administrative support staff. Should be coming soon. And then finally, on behalf of Principal Riley and the Marlborough Public Schools, I want to congratulate MHS seniors Eduardo Castro and Silas Jamal. Both Eduardo and Silas were recently named recipients of the College Board's National Hispanic Recognition Award for their outstanding achievement both in the classroom and on College Board assessments. Eduardo and Silas scored in the top 10% of all Massachusetts test takers on the PSAT last fall. Congratulations to Eduardo and Silas. I had the opportunity to meet these two young men when I was at the high school last week. I walked the building with Principal Riley, just great, great kids with a bright future ahead of them and a lot to be proud of. And that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions if members of the committee have questions for me.
Questions? Mrs. Hennessy?
I'm just going to say congratulations to Eduardo and Silas. That's really exciting.
I can't believe Silas is a senior. He went to Japan with us. I mean, I went to Japan when he went to Japan. When he was, I mean, he's tall.
He's much taller now.
Well, he was still tall then. I mean, he was never little, but I'm so proud. It's wonderful. It's great. Congratulations on getting through your first grant cycle. You have the best teacher in the world because Mary can do them in her sleep, so that's fantastic. Thank you for all that hard work. Anyone else? Any comments? Welcome to all the new staff.
The only quick question, I guess, was on that grant is just, so it's...
Oh, yeah, we
it's
can do that
covering-
now.
Yeah.
Heidi's question?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mrs. Matthews couldn't make it tonight, but she did have a question. Do you want to?
Go ahead.
What? Do you want to pull up her question, or I have it
Well, I
here?
think it was just that, sorry, not on mic. I think it was just clarification of whether it was some retro or is it all for moving forward? And I don't have
There was one
it.
in particular. It was, oh, the one of them covers the summer school costs, and she was just not clear if it was retroactive to cover this past summer or if it was for next summer.
It is for next summer.
For next summer.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that, Mrs. Matthews? Okay.
There, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Acceptance of the minutes of the August 23rd, 2022 school committee meeting. Entertain.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of the minutes from the August 23rd, 2022 meeting.
Motion made and seconded to approve the August 23rd, Minutes, any discussion?
Just that I abstained because I was not here for that meeting.
You don't have to abstain, you can vote on it, but that's okay. I wasn't there either, but I'm voting. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. And we have minutes for the August 30th meeting.
So I'd like to make a motion for approval of the minutes from the August 30th meeting.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of August 30th, 2022. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. Thank you. My computer is doing something strange, I'm sorry. Okay. Public participation. As you know, please make sure the green button's on, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee, my name is Kevin Macchioli, and I reside at 58 Ridge Road here in Marlborough. Tonight, you will once again take up the district's bullying policy. And as you have already heard, updated language has also been added to the district's bullying prevention and intervention plan. On behalf of my wife and I, we are glad to see this language added to the prevention and intervention plan that will bring it in line with the state's model plan. It's language we asked this committee to include in the bullying policy after the district administration declined to insert similar language into the plan in May. We're also glad to see you'll be making minor alterations to the bullying policy around public input and school committee review of the prevention and intervention plan. It's not enough, but it's a starting point. That said, I do feel the need to remind the committee and the public of a few issues. As you are all well aware, prior to May, the bullying prevention and intervention plan was last updated in 2015, and what was publicly available to parents on the district's website was from 2010. That was the original plan. By law, this was supposed to have been reviewed at least every 2 years, meaning Marlborough was woefully out of date. To the best of our knowledge, no one in the district administration has been called to account for this failure. As my wife has previously said, members of this committee told us that basically bullying was not an issue for this committee, but rather for the principals and the superintendent. Yet here we are, and what are you discussing tonight but the bullying policy? You were responsible for hiring the superintendent and prior superintendents, which means that position works for you. The bullying policy is your policy. You vote on it. You approve or deny it. And if it's not being followed or implemented correctly by your appointees, you have the ultimate oversight. It's also up to you to know and understand what is contained in the policies you pass. And the policy you're voting on tonight was last updated in 2018 and specifically referenced the bullying prevention and intervention plan. If I understand the timeline correctly, by the time this body adopted that policy in 2018, and a number of you held your seats at that time, this wasn't a different school committee at the time. The bullying prevention and intervention plan referenced in that policy was already outdated. Let me repeat that. This committee passed a policy that cited a plan that was already outdated. To me, that is neither knowing nor understanding what is contained within the policy. Yes, my wife and I have tried to raise issues about the district's handling of bullying issues. We've basically been told that we just don't understand what we're talking about. As a former reporter, I spent a decade covering city councils, school committees, and a host of other government entities. I spent countless hours in meetings just like this one, in rooms just like this one. And I'm amazed at how this body continues to dance around asking tough questions and exercise oversight on such a critical issue to student and school safety. At the late May meeting, when this committee was publicly told by Assistant Superintendent O'Brien that the bullying prevention and intervention plan had not been updated since 2015, not a single member, not one, asked how that happened. At a policy subcommittee meeting in June, in which it was asked who would be responsible for updating the plan going forward, the answer was a person to be designated by the superintendent. Again, leaving it up in the air and failing to ask who was responsible before. You may very well adopt a slightly stronger policy tonight, but I don't want anyone watching this meeting to think this committee has come even remotely close to doing its job. And that hurts every family in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to action items, policy 1.300, bullying. Mrs. Hennessy.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to make a motion for approval of policy 1.300, bullying prevention. As you noted from I will go into a little bit of a discourse to just bring to your attention on page 3 under the prevention and intervention plan, the second paragraph. That was where there was some change that was made from the last policy you all had read. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because in the document that you got, it was red as well as then there's a black area. And that black area actually does have some of the changes to it. So it just is not standing out very well. So I wanted to make sure you all brought it to your attention. I know I did send an email out to everyone to at least make everyone aware without having any kind of open discussion about it. But again, I wanted to make sure that I brought it to everyone's attention. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended policy of 1.300, bullying prevention.
Motion made and seconded to approve policy 1.300, bullying. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Carries. Acceptance of donations and gifts. Okay, First Church Congregational for $3,450.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. Donor's Choice for Jara Kindergarten students, Miss Sherman's class, $515.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve $515 from Donors Choose.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. FY23 Title I Entitlement Grant, FC 305 Title I, $1,062,154.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion for approval of the Title I entitlement grant.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. FY23 Title I Entitlement Grant, FC 140 Title IIA, $150,910.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Title IIA grant.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. FY23 Title I Entitlement Grant, FC 180 Title III, $235,379.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Title III grant.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. FY23 Title I Entitlement Grant, FC 309 Title IV, $64,411.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Title IV grant.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. That is all, thank you. Reports of school committee subcommittees. Any reports tonight?
If there's no other reports, I realized that I forgot something, and Mr. Diaz, being Mr. Diaz, he would never interrupt me during my report and remind me that he wanted to give a brief update about the before and after school programs at the elementary schools. So I remembered, but I just pointing out the fact that he would never interrupt me.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Diaz.
Madam Chair, I just have a quick update from the Boys and Girls Club for before school and after school programs. We are currently full at Kane in the AM program. The capacity there currently is 39 students, and on one day, which is Thursdays, we have 39 students. There's capacity on the other days of the week, but so we'll call that full, Kane in the morning. All other AM, PM programs currently have additional capacity. So there is availability for parents who are available. They can reach out to Boys and Girls Club. The information is on our website, and we'll be happy to have additional kids in the program.
Do we know anything about the staffing?
So I can break it down. The staffing level was provided to me. We have plenty of staff for all of the number of students that we are licensed to have for the afternoon. So in all afternoon programs, we have all of the staff that we require. In the morning, the staffing levels are lower than our maximum capacity. Again, it's not proving to be an issue yet anywhere other than Kane in the morning. So I spoke with Chris Twain, president of Boys and Girls Club.
Mm-hmm.
We're actively searching for additional staff, but like all other organizations right now, they are struggling to fill all of their open morning positions. But they're actively trying to get more folks into the Kane before school program so that we can meet all of the demand. There's currently only one child on the wait list at Kane.
And they're waitlisted because of the staffing level?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so once they hire somebody, that student will be able to be accommodated?
Correct.
Got it. Excellent, thank you. I do know Mrs. Matthews did review the warrant and has instructed one of us to sign it, so
Excellent.
we'll
Thank you.
take care of that for her. Members Forum. Actually, before that, I want to introduce Jess Rosenzweig.
Rosenzweig.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, Rosenzweig.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Perfect. Yeah.
Our new student rep for the year. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here, and yeah. Welcome.
I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but if you would like to, you have the floor.
I think I'm good. I'm definitely very excited to be on the board this year and see more of what goes on.
Great. And for those of you who watch us, Jess has been part of the Student Advisory Council for a couple of years.
Yeah, since
So
my
she's
sophomore year.
Coming, yeah. And along those lines, I know you want to speak, so you're next, Mrs. Hennessy. We have been asked by the SAC to do another orientation for the new members, or all the members. I recommended we do the same thing we did last year, which is to do it on our off Tuesday in the evening, which would be next Tuesday, the 20th. I am still waiting for confirmation from you guys as to whether or not that date works.
I think that should work. I know definitely if you tell Ms. Klein, or I can tell Ms. Klein, she can ask us all. Yeah. But I think that should work, especially if it's like a Zoom call or something.
I offered whatever works for you guys.
Yeah, so that would definitely be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so tentatively next Tuesday on a Teams call, whomever can make it, just let me know if you can make it. Nobody can make it. Okay. I'll be there.
That sounds great.
Depending upon how late it is, I might be able to join. I just have some umpiring, so.
Okay. Sounds good. So we'll confirm later.
Perfect.
Thanks. Okay, Mrs. Hennessy.
Thank you. Actually, my question was back to Mr. Diaz. I was curious if you might be able to give us any update relative to transportation, like have there been some changes? I noticed that you've been doing your due diligence of putting out a lot to try and get some marketing out there to stir the pot for drivers.
Begging for drivers is not beneath us, and we're trying as hard as we can. Since my last update to the committee, last meeting, we have added one driver to the lineup. Unfortunately, that is where the good news stopped. We had a driver that was supposed to test today. Due to very unfortunate personal reasons, that driver had to withdraw from the system altogether. The next two sets of drivers are probably not going to be testing for their CDL license until the first 2 weeks of October. I would say mid-October is the next set of drivers. With that said, the plan that we had put in place for the first 7 days of school has gone okay. The first couple of days were a little off, but we've adjusted, and the service that we plan to provide has been going on okay. I would say between now and mid-October, when we're able to add a couple of drivers, if they pass their tests, we are still exposed to call-outs from drivers, where we may have to have some late service in the morning and potential delayed service in the afternoon. Today was a great day. We have 172 more days of school, and we're hoping for 172 more good days, but we're also we want to be as transparent as possible to the families. There's been a lot of families on the impacted routes that are reaching out to me directly. I encourage them to continue doing so. As soon as we have the ability to provide more consistent good service on the impacted routes, we'll be doing so. One example of that is we have 2 routes at Whitcomb that are scheduled for the 4 o'clock pickup. We used to have 3. One of them went away with a driver that we attained. On a day like today, when things go well and we don't have a lot of call-outs, we were able to do those 2 routes at 2:30.
That's great.
With the bell. Again, today was the exception, not the rule. So we don't want to promise those families that will happen every day. We don't want to promise those families there's a 50% chance of that happening, but when we can do things like that, we will do things like that to help the system.
Can I ask a clarifying question on that, though, please? Just, sitting in the seat of the parent that's waiting for the child then to come home, if you then plan towards your child coming home closer to 4 o'clock, yet now they're going to come home at 2:30.
Right.
Could be good.
Right.
Might not be good. So
Yes.
just curious.
Yes, we still have 4 o'clock late buses. That's when the buses are scheduled to be late buses for high school and middle school. If coming home early is not an option for those students, staying in school is still an option, Monday through Friday. But given that these are middle school students, and given that the school has told us that their preference, and I assume the preference of the students would be to go home as soon as feasible, when we can implement that last minute change. And the unfortunate thing about this, and I was telling one parent today, is that we usually don't know whether or not that driver is going to be available until 1 o'clock every afternoon. So it is really a last minute change.
Okay, thank you. I just, my concern is thinking about the parent who may really want to necessarily be there when their child's getting home. So, and I hear you, at least it's at middle school, not talking elementary, but,
And, not to overpromise, because it's our intention with the last communique on the last meeting was to give the community the expectation of what we can provide, and we've been able to deliver on that. Now that we have a couple of weeks of real life school, and we can analyze the actual enrollment of the students on the buses versus the folks who told us they wanted to ride, we can analyze who's riding and what the capacity is on the actual buses that we have. And we can start looking at these impacted routes and taking pockets of bus stops and putting them into existing routes where we have capacity to do so, without, of course, impacting the elementary runs that come right after it. So where we can do that, Mr. Phelan is actively analyzing those routes to make those changes. And again, even if it's 5 students, that's impactful. So that's important. Again, I don't want to overpromise that we're going to be able to do that to the 3 busloads of students that are impacted, but if we can do it for 20 students, that's a win.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. Did I?
I just want, was there any promise from the job fair on Monday, yesterday?
The one in Framingham?
Yeah.
We communicated that out to our families. I had a few families reach out to me, asking for more information, where it was, what time. We also creatively reached out to our own staff with an opportunity to drive just in the afternoon. I haven't had any takers yet that I'm aware of. But there was some interest, and again, there is an active pipeline within NRT right now of at least 6 drivers. They're not all going to be Marlborough drivers, but they're all Hudson drivers. Yeah. And even if 3 of those come our way, it's going to be a significant impact to the system.
Sorry, Mr. Carey.
So her question was more about communicating to the families when the route is going to be early versus late or whatever. What about the students? If they're taking the bus at 4 and they're expected to take the bus at 4, I'm assuming they're somewhere in the school doing homework or whatever. How are they communicating? Oh, by the way, you got to get a bus at 2:30.
Yes, great question. So Mrs. House and Steve and I were on speed dial with all of our principals because again, we're doing this exercise at 5:30 in the morning and we're doing it again at 1 o'clock every day, where there is a change to the matrix that I shared last time. We're communicating those changes to the school so that they can then communicate it with the families. In these 2 instances, like I said, the 2 buses that would come, they are scheduled and the families receive notice from me that the plan for them is 4 o'clock. If there's a change for that, the school's doing an out call at 2 o'clock, 30 minutes before the bell, and saying bus number students, so bus 33 and 21 in this case, please come to the cafeteria. We're hoping to release you right at 2:30. So in those buses, those students are always invited to the cafeteria anyways. That's where we have staff and that's where we have snack for those students. And then we get them home as soon as we can. For the first couple of days where we had the ability to do so, the bus left first and then came back. The driver has since realized that he can take all the students at once because we can fit 52 students in the bus. So today they went together. So they left at 2:30. And I would say that they got home probably shortly after 3:15.
Anyone else? Mr. St. George, welcome back.
Thank you.
Would you like to add anything?
No, I don't think so. Ms. Barry and I will be kind of alternating, I think. So you see more of me, lucky you. Oh, sorry. Ms. Barry and I will be alternating back and forth, so I'll be here probably every other meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:14.